In this story, three of the gods, Homer and Loki and Odin, are out. They are out doing manly things, or I guess manly godly things, or godly manly things. I'm not really sure which, but they are out hunting. They are out exploring. They are out together. And when I say hunting, I mean they are trying to hunt. They are looking for game, and they have been spending all day looking for game, and nothing has shown up. And I don't know, maybe you are familiar with this phenomena of hanger. I really think that was getting to all three of them. They were walking around. They are not used to being so thwarted. There was nothing. And at last they came to a clearing, and there, in the middle of the clearing, was an oxen. At last. So they slaughtered the oxen. They put them in a big pot. They were getting ready to have the best beef stew they've ever tasted. And it boiled and bubbled and bubbled and boiled. And after an hour or so, they checked in that pot, and the meat was still raw. The liquid had been bubbling and boiling away, and the meat looked like it had just been put in there. So they put the lid back on and waited for quite a while again. And after what really should have been plenty of time, they looked in, the meat was still raw. Well, they were getting very hangry. And they were sniping at each other. And Loki and Odin and Honer, they could really get into a lot of trouble. And they were wondering what on earth was going on, when all of a sudden Loki noticed a shadow across that pot. And the three gods looked up in the tree that was right next to them. And there was the most enormous eagle any of them had ever seen. And when they noticed the eagle, he laughed at them. Yes, I am the reason that your stew is not cooking. You have come to my land, and I am Yahtzee. I am the most powerful magical giant around, and you will never get to eat that unless you let me have the first serving. Well, that didn't seem so bad, especially since they were so hungry, and all three of them agreed just like that. And just like that, the stew was done. They took the lid off, and that enormous eagle flew down off of the tree and snatched out of the pot the very best pieces of meat. And Loki was getting very irritated, and he thought, that seems a little much. Not only does he get served first, but he's taking the very best pieces. And he picked up his staff and he whacked that eagle right on the back, and the staff stuck to the eagle, and Loki stuck to the staff, and the eagle flew high up into the air with Loki dangling at the end of the staff, and flew up and up and up, and then he came back down really close to the earth, and bump, 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 bump. He dragged Loki's head along the rocky shoreline, and then back up high into the air, and the whole time Loki is screaming, let me go, don't let me go yet, don't let me go yet. And Yahtzee was laughing. He said, I will let you go this very moment, and you will be dashed upon the rocks unless you make a solemn vow. And Loki thought, well, last time it was dinner, how bad can it be, right? He said, okay, I promise, anything. You must bring me Idunn and her apples. And Loki said, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And the eagle, Yahtzee, flew higher and higher. And Loki said, okay, I promise, I make a solemn vow. And Yahtzee brought him much closer to the earth, and then let him go to only slightly conked his head. He made his way back to Odin and Honor, and they were just finishing up the stew, and Loki didn't say anything about what he had promised. Now, who is Idunn? Who is Idunn? 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 Who Idunn? Who is she? I can tell you I spent about a month looking at all of the different pronunciations of her name. The Icelandic folks say Idunn. There's a woman in Australia who says Idunn. We're going to call her Idunn. Idunn is the keeper of the apple. She is a beautiful goddess who is beloved by all the gods and goddesses. She is beautiful, yes, but not so beautiful as to be a threat to the other goddesses. She is brilliant, but she never seems to lord it over, not even Thor, who, as we've noticed, isn't all that bright. She is the goddess of spring and life, and yes, she has these apples. And they are pretty special. They are delicious, they are juicy, they are fragrant. I think they probably would make excellent mead or cider. And they are the reason that the gods and goddesses are immortal. You see, unlike the Greeks, who are immortal of their very nature, the Norse gods and goddesses would grow old and wither and die without Idunn's apples. The apples of immortality. They should just take one bite and immediately they are returned to their peak, to youthful perfection. All except Odin, who appears to want to be just a little older. He is the All-Father, after all. And our Idunn, she wonders sometimes if the gods love her because of who she is, or because of her apples. It's like that old song, maybe you know. Am I lovely because I'm beautiful? Or am I beautiful because you love me? She thinks, do they love me because of my apples? Or do I give them these apples because they love me? She doesn't really know. Well, there she is in her garden, tending to all the beautiful things that spring can grow. And here comes Loki. Now, he has been plotting and scheming since he got back from their hunting trip. And he says, hello, Idunn. Do you have any apples? I'm feeling a little gray. And she says, oh, yes, well, of course I do. Wherever the apples are, there am I. And wherever I am, there are the apples, they are mine. And she holds out an apple to Loki, and he takes a good, big bite. And he says, you know, Idunn, your apples are wonderful, but they're not the best I've ever had. Well, she can hardly believe that, right? This is her pride and joy, these apples. She says, well, what do you mean? Oh, well, I didn't mean to insult you. I'm just saying, when I was away recently, I tasted some apples that I think are even more delicious than yours. Maybe we should bring your apples there and compare them and see what you think. And so, of course, she puts all of her apples into her golden basket, and the two of them start off. And hand in hand, Loki and Idunn walk out of Asgard. And as soon as they are out of Asgard, Thiazi, in his eagle form, swoops down and snatches her up. And she screams and cries out, and Loki turns his back and walks back into Asgard. And you know, they say that for quite a while nobody noticed she was gone. It wasn't until they started to feel that they were getting a little crow's feet, maybe a few more gray hairs. Oh, it was so hard to get up in the morning. I better go see Idunn. And she was nowhere. She was nowhere to be found. Well, now they were up in arms. Where is Idunn? Where are her apples? And after some investigation, of course, the last one she had been seen with was Loki. So they brought Loki in, and they tied him up, and they began to interrogate him, and they said, Loki, you had better find Idunn and bring her back, or we will separate that head of yours from your neck. Oh, wait, said Frigg, who was feeling very, very old. First, we will torture you. Well, Loki was very fond of his pretty little neck, and he liked his head just where it was, and so he promised, I will find her, and I will bring her back. And he did go into Jotunheim, and he snuck around, and he found Idunn, and she was weeping, sitting on her box of apples, and weeping. And Loki said, Idunn, I'm so sorry what happened to you. We never did get to go see those apples, but I am sure that if I could, I would set you free from Piazzi. And she said, oh, don't even talk to me. It isn't that I want to be set free. Yes, yes, at first I would have liked that, but Piazzi told me that he loved me. But I'm sitting on this basket of apples, and I won't give any to the giants. And he's beginning to get irritated, and I'm beginning to think that he doesn't really love me, he just wants my apples. Ooh. Oh. Well, Loki, his mind is always going. He says, well, you know, if you could think of a way to get away from him, if he would freely let you go back to Asgard to visit all of us and miss you so much, well, then you would know. You would know that he really loves you, because if you really love something, you let it go free. And if it returns, you know it loves you back. That is unusually profound for you, Loki. That you do. But I do have an idea. I will talk to Piazzi. You bring me Freya's beautiful feathered cloak. If you bring me that feathered cloak, I can turn into a hawk and fly home, and perhaps she will lend it to me to fly back if Piazzi passes this test. Done, said Loki. And off he went. And he went back to the gods and goddesses, and he said, oh, I will be able to rescue Idunn if only, and her apples, don't forget her apples. I will be able to rescue her if only Frey will lend me your cloak. And she says, oh, of course I will, here. And Loki went back to Jotunheim. And in the meantime, Idunn and Piazzi had had many, many conversations, and not all of them had gone well. But Idunn believed that Piazzi would let her go home to visit Asgard and fly back to see him. And so, just to make sure, she waited until he went out fishing, so he wouldn't have to see her leave. Then she put on the cloak when Loki brought it to her, and she started to fly off. But Piazzi saw her from his fishing boat, and he changed his mind. He turned into an eagle, and he flew up, and he said, no, 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 no. Idunn, come back. Idunn, you cannot go to those Asgardians. Why won't you give us your apple? Well, that was enough for Idunn. In the meantime, Loki had changed himself into a teeny little nut. You know what a good shapeshifter he is. He wanted to be not seen by anyone. And so she was holding Loki in her hand as she flew back to Asgard. And there the gods and goddesses, they were watching, and they saw her flying in her hawk shape from Freya's cloak and being pursued by Piazzi in his eagle form. And they said, oh no, this is it, this is it. And they put wood chips all around the wall, as Loki had told them to do. If Idunn gave them the signal, they would wait for her to clear and then light the walls on fire. And just as Idunn cleared the wall with Loki as a nut clasped in her talons, Thiazi said one more time, "Just bring back your apple." And she signaled, and he could not stop. She cleared the wall, and he caught fire and fell into the street. Idunn, she returned the feathered cloak, and Loki, of course, told everyone that he had changed into the falcon and made Idunn into a little nut so he could rescue her. And Idunn did not correct him, but Freya knew who returned her cloak. Idunn, she quickly distributed her apples to all of the gods and goddesses who had missed her so much. But she wondered, do they love me because I'm wonderful? Or am I wonderful because of these answers? Thank you.